True Crime Dungeon contains adult content that may be disturbing or too graphic for some audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
I said, there ain't nothing you can tell me that's gonna make me fucking hate you. So I turned my chair facing her. I was like this close to her, and I was holding her hands, and I kissed her and shit. I said, there ain't nothing that you can tell me that's gonna make me fucking hate you. I'm telling you right now, the fucking shit she told me, I wanted to fucking kill her my fucking self, cause I got a goddamn daughter named Samantha. And I'm fucking about to die over this fucking bullshit. She said, Samantha Burns is right there. And I fucking about had a heart attack. So I tried to play it off. I said, that ain't nothing. She said, well, that ain't all. There's other bodies. And I'm like, whoa. So I said, I fucking freaked the fuck out. I said, you gotta get your ass to the fucking cops. And I said, you gotta fucking tell them everything you told me. She's like, oh, no. She said, why don't we just dig up the pile, throw it in Sims Creek, and go on about our life for the next fucking 30, 40 years. I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. She said, you're already an accessory. What do you mean I'm an accessory? She said, I said, oh, fuck you, bitch. I'm going to the fucking cops whether you come with me or not. I said, I'm going to give you the chance to tell your fucking story, or I'm going to go down there and tell them what you fucking told me.
Welcome to another episode of True Crime Dungeon. I'm Trace.
And I'm Rain. Today we're going to talk about something that's been burning a hole on my Facebook wall.
Mine too.
A few weeks ago, a man named Jimmy Hysell posted on Facebook that his wife, Rebecca Bocook Hughes, disclosed information to him that there were bodies buried on her property, including the body of Samantha Burns.
For those of you who aren't familiar with that case, Samantha Burns was a 19-year-old college student who went missing from Huntington, West Virginia back in November of 2002. Her vehicle was found abandoned in a secluded area and had been set on fire. Actually, it was still burning when the police arrived on the scene. There was no sign of Samantha anywhere near the vehicle, and her body has never been found. 2 men were convicted of her murder and are still incarcerated on death row.
Now, since his initial Facebook post, Jimmy has created a big internet spectacle that's been followed by thousands and thousands of people from around the world. Before we continue with the story, we'd like to remind you to follow us on social media. Our handle is @CrimeDungeon on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also have bonus content available for our subscribers, so if you'd like to support what we do and have access to a few cool extras, please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/CrimeDungeon.
Now, we'd just like to take a moment to let you know that there is a lot, tons of information about this topic. So much dirt has been kicked up that it's really hard to know what is fact and what is fiction.
Yeah.
That's the main reason why we've waited a few weeks to report on this. We don't want to give you guys false information. So right now we're going to give you the facts about what we do know. Then we're going to move on to some things that have been said, and then we'll let you determine what you believe is true or false. All of the points we talk about on today's show has either been confirmed by authorities or given in a testimony by those involved. Please know that if there's any discrepancy in what we're reporting today, please contact us and let us know so we can correct it immediately, because we're not here to give false information or be attacked by people because we're giving the wrong information.
Yeah. Before we get started, we'd like to ask everyone to please respect the privacy of those involved. It's easy to get caught up in a story like this, but there's a difference between showing an interest and invading someone's life. Everyone wants the truth to be discovered, but don't damage the integrity of the investigation. Respect all those involved, their families, their property, and their grief.
Definitely. So, what we're going to talk about right now is the law enforcement's take on everything. And this comes right from a report given to us by an official Facebook page of Lawrence County, Ohio Sheriff's Office. On July 2nd, this is the first that the cops hear about this case at all. The Lawrence County Sheriff's Office gets a call from West Virginia State Police in reference to two people, James, which is Jimmy Hysell, and his wife, Rebecca Hughes, talking about their property at 23 Township Road, 1465 in Chesapeake, Ohio. Now, normally we wouldn't put out somebody's address, but Jimmy himself has
made that public knowledge.
Made it public knowledge. Otherwise, you wouldn't get that from us.
Yeah.
Right. So they went and talked to an officer at the sheriff's office, and they say they'll send somebody out to their place. So Jimmy and Becky meet a sheriff at their house to talk to him, to give him this report. The first complaint from Jimmy that his wife told him that Samantha Burns, missing since 2002, was buried on their property in a burn pile, came at this time. This is the first time that Jimmy told them about it. This is what they report. So this guy takes the report, and he thinks that it's something to contact the FBI over. So then the FBI send out an agent from Huntington, West Virginia, their Huntington, West Virginia office, to meet with the deputy at the residence and interview both Jimmy and Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy's story was that his wife told him that two bodies were buried on her property. Becky's statement was very different. Now, they don't say what that was. They don't even say what Jimmy's statement was, other than the fact that he said that his wife said,
right,
hearsay.
Yeah.
Hearsay.
Now, I think the reason why they didn't post Becky's statement, either of their statement really, was because they're still trying to keep this as under wraps as they can, considering that Jimmy has already started blasting this all over Facebook.
Well, he didn't start until after this point. He didn't say anything to anybody until he spoke with the police. So then we move on to the next day, July 3rd. The FBI comes back and they take what Jimmy says seriously. So they come out and they photograph the area, the burn piles, the scene, really. The scene that he says, okay, here's this burn pile. My wife told me that there's bodies buried under it or in it or have been burned on it. And so they take pictures. They look around, not look around like they're digging for anything, but they take a picture of the burn pile. Then they contact a forensic investigator who actually specializes in the recovery of buried remains. Well, he takes a look and realizes that they're burnt remains, and he says, well, I think that you could benefit from this other guy. So then he refers them to an FBI agent who specializes in the recovery of burned remains. And they end up later then getting a hold of him. I guess he thought maybe this is above my pay grade, or I don't feel comfortable doing this because I'm not an expert in burnt remains, So then the FBI, they continue to do interviews with Jimmy and Becky separately. They said that Jimmy's story changes from 2 bodies to 4 bodies now buried there. But the whole entire time, it's important to know that Becky's story never changes. And that's important for 2 reasons. 1, because she could be telling the truth, or 2, because she's practiced it enough.
Yeah.
That could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying one or the other. I'm just saying that those could be the 2 reasons why her story never changes. Jimmy's story could change because once you tell your story and you're so hyped up about the story that you're telling, then you start remembering more things that they said, or and it seemed to me when I would watch his videos that he would just blurt things out and then he would change subjects really quick and then come back to it. And that's not a bad thing. He was pretty scared. I mean, he looked scared. He looked like he was running for his
guilty.
life.
Not like
not
guilty,
like he did anything.
Like a court of law, but he feels guilty for being in that area and not knowing, for
being with her and not knowing who she is. I mean, you know things about people's past, but that's pretty deep, you know. So, the tip, people were very upset because the tip about Samantha Burns, people felt like they weren't doing anything about it. Like, they thought that the FBI should storm this place and, oh my God, Samantha Burns is buried here, we're going to dig up this whole entire yard. And it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, and they said themselves that the tip about Samantha Burns was discredited in the investigation due to the fact that the tip referred to Michael Vickers being the one seen burning Samantha Burns' body. Now, I don't know if a lot of you know, you probably do if you know anything about this case, but Mitchell Vickers was charged and arrested in 1998 for the murder of a local news cameraman. Burns actually wasn't killed or actually abducted because they don't know if she was killed. They only know it because they said it, these two people on death row.
Right.
But their body has never been found. I'm guessing she is dead. But Burns wasn't abducted until 2002. So I think that Jimmy was telling the truth, but then as you're telling your story, you're getting all these people crossed with certain other informations. You know, like, it could have been completely someone else, but, you know, Mitchell Vickers could have been there. You know, she could have said this about Mitchell, and he got things messed up because at this point, his head's probably spinning around this stuff for days. And he's probably confused, not about what she said, but how he's delivering it. Because you can think things, and they come out of your mouth very differently.
Right.
Especially if you're scared to death, or you trying to get it all out, or you don't think they're listening to you, you're going to try to really dig for that information to recall it. That's all they did that day. They completely discredited Jimmy, or Jimmy discredited himself when he gives them misinformation about Mitchell Vickers. So they weren't even taking him seriously, and they say so. We just discredit it. Mm-hmm. We're not taking him seriously because his information doesn't match information we have. Not even thinking that this man could be distraught, that he had just found out. I mean, these FBI agents don't really care what they hear on a daily basis because they're used to hearing it.
Yeah.
So, but here's Jimmy, who heard this about his wife. He probably feels hurt. He probably feels betrayed. He probably feels as if he doesn't know her anymore. He's scared of the people she knows because these are some pretty bad dudes, if you think about it. The next day, on July 5th, the investigators and an FBI agent meet with Jimmy out at his house. He's still there at this point, and they speak to him about the numerous claims he was making on social media, which we know since the beginning of all this that Jimmy's been on social media saying, though they're not doing anything. I told these people, you know, they're still not digging. They're still not.
Now, he's had a big presence on social media. Mm-hmm. He's, at this point, been trying to pressure the cops to do something. Mm-hmm. He's already made the report. He
thinks that they should be moving at lightning speed.
Yeah.
Because it's, like, to him, it's pressing.
Yeah.
Like, this is the most important thing in his life. And to a cop, well, we've heard this before. Mm-hmm. You know, we've heard this shit before.
Yeah. And not just that, but, you know, like you said, they can't just jump.
They can't.
And do things. There's a process. I mean,
right.
If they followed up on every single tip they got, no matter
right.
whether it was true or false, I mean,
they just can't bust in your door because so-and-so said to bust in your door and arrest you.
Yeah.
You know, like, I could be carrying the trash out to the garbage and our next-door neighbors say, oh, I saw her, you know, dragging a body down to the, you know, to the trash, and then they just bust in here and arrest me. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
It just doesn't. So, while they were out there talking to Jimmy about the stuff on social media, they viewed the property again and witnessed that these burn piles were undisturbed. On the 6th, the next day, in the morning, Becky went to the sheriff's office and said that she was in fear for her life because Jimmy was threatening her, was threatening to hurt her. Okay? Now, how much of that is true? We don't know. People say a lot of shit when they're mad at each other. I mean, I myself have heard him on social media saying, I'm going to kill that bitch. Or I'd kill that bitch. And
I hope she dies.
She needs to rot in hell for this. But if taken out of reference, what he was saying when I heard him say that was, if she tries to hurt me, I'm going to kill that bitch. And that's his right, to protect himself. So, if that was taken out of context, then people might think that he would hurt her. But you don't know what's going on in their private life that nobody else knows about.
Yeah.
Because, again, hearsay.
Now, when you look at a guy like Jimmy, you are automatically going to see his looks, see his personality, hear the way he speaks, and you're going to label him. And people have already labeled him.
A dumb redneck.
Yeah. Hillbilly, dumb redneck, that he's stupid, he doesn't know anything, that he's crazy, or whatever.
On drugs, on and on.
Yeah. So, it's easy for someone to assume that she's telling the truth. Now, we don't know for certain whether she is or she isn't.
Right.
But it would be easy for her to get the police on her side.
Oh, yeah.
Based off of...
Because if you think of it, when they're called to a domestic violence case, and I could have just beat your ass, but the minute they pull in and they see you raging, guess who's going to get the blame for it?
Mm-hmm.
And he rages. You see it on YouTube. You see it on Facebook. He rages. And I don't think he means to come across that way. I just think he is that way.
Yeah.
I could go off.
Like a very intense person.
He's somebody, I know people like that. I have family like that.
Yeah.
Like hillbillies from West Virginia. And I mean, it's just normal for me. Like, when I look at him, I'm just like, oh, that dude's upset about something. And when people are upset, they don't care. They really don't care how they come across.
Yeah.
And he seems like a straightforward type of guy. Like, if he doesn't like you, he's going to tell you he doesn't like you. If he is pissed off at you, you'll be the first to know it from his lips.
Mm-hmm.
He seems like that type of guy. Yeah. And guys like that need to be respected. People like that need to be respected.
Or feared.
Or feared. And I think people do. They're scared of him. Not physically scared of him, but scared of him in a way that...
He's unpredictable.
If I was his wife, I'd be scared of that. Just that. Now, what else aren't we seeing, So, yeah, he's unpredictable. Like he said in one of his videos, he said, what you think I would do, I would actually do the exact opposite. And that makes him unpredictable to people. And people don't like what they can't predict or control.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, because she went to the sheriff's office and told them she was in fear for her life, because Jimmy was threatening her, or whatever the case may be, she was instructed to get a protection order and was assisted by a domestic violence advocate in doing that.
Right.
Later on that night, Jimmy was served with that protection order, and then he left the property in Chesapeake.
He was actually on his way out. Like, he was packed his car and was getting, or his truck, or whichever, and he was on his way to leaving the property when they came and served him. And then he calls Rebecca. I heard the voicemails that said, well, you got your protection order, and I will honor that. You got your way. I'm leaving. Basically is what he said. Not word for word. I'm not quoting him there. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that it was pretty much a 30-second clip of him saying, you won't see me again. I'll see you in court, though. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is what the protection order states, and this is word for word.
In her words,
the account of what has been going on, not just within the last few days of all this happening, but since the beginning of their relationship. So, the protection order states this. Jimmy and I began dating approximately a year ago and have been married for 2 months. On or around July 3rd, we were at our home, which is owned by my son, and had each had a couple of drinks. Jimmy asked me to tell him a dark secret, and I told him that I knew 2 people, Brandon Basham and Mitchell Vickers, who had been convicted of killing people. Jimmy said that was nothing and got on his computer. Approximately 2 hours later, Jimmy got up from the computer and began screaming at me, asking if I knew certain people. This went on for approximately 12 hours, during which time he stated that he knew that the body of Samantha Burns, the woman Brandon Basham was convicted of killing, had been burned in a burn pile beside my house because Brandon had been there. Jimmy insisted that we contact the police, so we went and spoke with West Virginia State Police, who then contacted Lawrence County Sheriff's Department, who in turn sent a deputy to speak with me at my home. Ultimately, an FBI agent also came out to our home to speak with us. At approximately 11 p.m., the deputy and FBI agent left my house. Jimmy had left a few minutes before they did, but returned around 2 a.m. the next morning, July 4th, stating that he didn't feel comfortable leaving me in the house with guns. So he took the only gun and left. He returned 9 a.m. on the 4th. He came back home and was acting completely normal, including bringing the gun back into the house. However, approximately 3 hours later, he began acting erratic again, demanding that I tell him everything. I described an incident with Mitchell Vickers in which Vickers told me there was a dead body in a fire he had built on my property and threatened to burn me and my kids if I told. Jimmy yelled and screamed, asking how many times fires were there and telling me I had to tell the FBI agent. He also began threatening to send me to prison. Late that evening, after dark, we were both on the porch and I went in the house to get each of us a bottle of water. As soon as I stepped through the front door onto the porch, Jimmy, who was standing just a foot or 2 away, fired a handgun twice in another direction. Jimmy stated that it was the 4th of July and it was his right to carry a handgun to protect himself since he didn't feel safe because I was a serial killer. I went to bed and called the FBI the first thing in the morning and made an appointment to meet with him at the Spring Valley fire station. When I got home from the fire station, Jimmy was gone, so I texted him to let him know I was home. He responded that he wasn't coming home because he was afraid of me and the people I knew, but would meet me somewhere. We met at Kroger's. When I told him I had met with the FBI agent, he became enraged, stating that I went behind his back and that he was going to fuck me, a statement that I took to mean he would physically hurt me. I left Kroger shortly thereafter and went home to pack some things. After I had packed a few things and gotten in the car to drive away, Jimmy called and made various statements that caused me to fear for my safety and well-being, including that he has 37 malicious wounding charges in his past, including some from when he was in prison for 10 years, that he wasn't afraid of the police, that he has no problem breaking a woman's jaw, and specifically mentioned breaking Diana Harless's jaw 3 different times. He also claimed to have stabbed a man and left him in a car for dead. I went and stayed with a friend for the night. Since leaving my home, I have received at least...
I couldn't read
it. And this part was kind of cut off at the edge. But she received a number of calls from Jimmy's phone number, 11 text messages between 3:29 p.m. and 11:18 yesterday, 12 new text messages between 2:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. today, and multiple direct messages via Facebook Messenger. In one message, he stated that I better tell all I know and get a deal. I'll end up on death row. Yesterday, he also posted a video on the internet accusing me of being a serial killer. And this morning, he sent me various pictures via text message of various family members and friends with no explanation. I am terrified of Jimmy given his increasingly erratic and irrational behavior, and believe I need a protection order to keep him away from me so I can feel safer.
Now, we'll come back to that when we get to Jimmy's
accounting.
When we get to Jimmy's account of this stuff. Because it's very different. Mm-hmm. I mean, he doesn't deny some of it happened, but he denies how it happened. So, on July 8th, Becky goes to the sheriff's office and files a violation of this protection order. So that is okay. I mean, it didn't take him but one day to break it, supposedly.
Yeah.
So she goes to the sheriff's office and files a violation of protection order against Jimmy for continuously contacting her and threats made through Facebook and text. So the report was filed and sent to the prosecutor's office. July 9th, the sheriff investigators go to the property to view the property again. They also took pictures that time as well, and the burn pile that time showed that there was no disturbance to it. So if you would think, if she had bodies burnt and buried there, she would be trying to get rid of them. You know? Like, well, I'm going to get rid of them before they get the warrant.
Right. July 10th is the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office accounting of things. So, on July 10th, Sheriff's Office obtained a search warrant for Lawrence County Common Pleas Court for the residence and property of Rebecca Hysell and James Hysell. Rebecca was asked to meet officers there because she had not been staying there. FBI agents from Huntington Violent Crimes Task Force, investigators with Lawrence Drug and Major Crimes Task Force, and crime scene investigators from Huntington Police Department executed the search warrant. Residence and property was photographed and video documentation was taken to show that nothing on the property had been disturbed.
Still. Okay, so while they were there, they did an extensive dig through the burn piles, and they did this by hand. They also sifted through the ashes and the dirt with forensic tools. What forensic tools they used, I don't know. But I could guess, but I don't want to guess.
Yeah.
So they stopped the search when it became too dark to see. A deputy with the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office stayed the night there to protect the property, to make sure nobody came and tried to move anything. So he spent the night there until it was light enough for them to see and start again.
So this sifting through the ashes and whatnot, it wasn't an extensive dig.
No.
They were just looking at the surface for things.
Right.
And a lot of people have bashed the police for not doing a more thorough search.
Right.
But if you take into account Jimmy's statement that he found a bone, he wasn't digging, he wasn't moving things around or burying. His account of things was that he found a bone, to which they interpreted that to mean that there was remains somewhere on the surface or close to the surface.
Or close to.
Close enough for him to find something.
Well, the process in which, I know this, and I looked it up as well just to remind myself. The process of looking through burn piles, really, or burnt remains, is to take that stuff and to take samples of that stuff. They just can't come in there with a backhoe and flip that shit upside down. Because if they do, they're losing a lot of evidence if there is any there.
Right.
So they have to start from the top and move down slowly.
Right.
You just don't dig.
Not only that, but when you're dealing with burnt remains,
right,
a pile of burnt remains and ashes, they're having to sift through very small particles of things.
Well, think of like panning for gold.
Yeah.
Think of it like that.
That's what I was thinking of.
Right. And you're thinking how small some of those flecks of gold are. You're thinking some flecks of these bones could be even smaller than that. And they might be attached to something else, attached to, charred bits of whatever other stuff they're burning there. You know, they have probably taken thousands of samples from that burn pile. And are doing, because some of that stuff, there might be DNA there, but it might not, probably can't even see it.
Yeah.
So they're saying, we have to start from the surface, and that takes a while, which is actually why it blew my mind that it only took them 2 days.
Well, I think it only took them 2 days to do the surface. Well, no, they went back and they dug deeper, didn't they?
Yeah. No, they dug deeper here on the 11th. So they're sifting through this stuff by hand, and you got to think, when you're doing it by hand, you're actually doing it with your hands. People think that they got some machine that comes in there and shakes this shit down. Like if you ever watch Gold Rush, and they have this shit that just flops down this conveyor belt, and it's not like that.
Right.
You know, they're actually
is different than searching for
with it. Yeah,
I mean, not just human remains, but you're looking for any type of biological clue,
right?
That something was there,
right?
So
exactly.
It's not like you can just put something in a strainer, shake it around, and something's
there
going
it
to
is.
drop out.
Like an eyeball,
These
or
are
an arm bone.
Microscopic, minute particles that they're trying to find.
Right, so just because they said they didn't find anything in this stuff, and I want to stress this to people, it doesn't mean that, because DNA testing and DNA results in stuff like this take weeks, months sometimes to get back. So the thing is here they are, they're sifting through this stuff by hand, and they got a big team out there, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you should see some of the pictures. There's 30, 40 people you could just see walking around doing absolute shit all. So how many people are actually doing stuff? That's a lot of people. And that one video that came out on YouTube that said, oh, they're over there digging, that was only a video of them surveying the land. You have to survey the land before... You have to take a survey of the land before you can dig on it. Because they don't know where stuff's set up. Water lines, electric stuff. They don't know. There's a lot of things. There could be wells under there. Like, look at our front yard.
Yeah.
You know, there's like 2 wells out there. And I was telling you the one day, I mean, hell, when they put in the new septic tank, they could have found a dead body in that tank. I mean, shit, we didn't even know where it was located in our yard. And we own this house. So... You don't know what's there. So they have to survey the land. They have to take all these pictures of it to see what it was before they start digging. There's a long process to this stuff. But anyways, let's get back to them. So they had a police officer stay there overnight just to make sure that, you know, people didn't come in there and try to remove things from the scene, or... You don't know. Some of these people are crazy. They might try to go take things as trophies and try to sell them later.
Yeah.
You know, that's just crazy stuff. But on the 11th, the agents and the investigators continue to sift through this debris. Which, they'd been burning stuff there since 2002. So you think about it. How much stuff they had in that burn pile.
Yeah.
Plus, she had said that they had animals that they just threw on and burnt. Like to dispose of.
Yeah.
So they continue to sift through this debris, and then they and dirt. So they're starting to get down to the dirt part.
Yeah.
Then they bring in an excavator to dig further into the ground. They dug a 20 by 20 area that was nearly 8 foot deep. They dug the original burn pile and another one. So they did 2 burn piles. The dirt did not contain human remains. In the evening, then, the search was complete. Miscellaneous items had been collected throughout the entire 2-day search, but no remains were located. And I'm sure they're talking about, like, full skeletons, you know, stuff like that. It should be noted that Becky was at the residence the entire time and was extremely helpful and cooperative throughout the entire investigation. The thing with that is they asked her to be there. And what are you going to say, no? But another thing they do is, when they're digging for remains, they have the owners there so they can witness what they're doing. So they can't say, oh, they did this and they did that and whatnot. Well, also, here's the other thing they don't tell you, is they want you there in case they find something. They're going to arrest you.
Right. And not just that, but they want to see a reaction to things.
You're right. They want to see, like, FBI agents and specialists are trained in that stuff.
Yeah.
Body language,
you know, like
responses.
If they were there and she kept trying to lead them away from a certain area, or seemed like she was hiding something, or was nervous if they walked over a certain place, you know, they're trained to recognize that kind of emotional response.
Right.
And they are going to use that
Definitely.
to assist in their investigation.
Definitely.
So Jimmy's account of things is how this all started.
Well, first let's figure out who Jimmy is.
Okay.
Jimmy owns a tattoo shop. He reminds me of one of those hardworking Americans who has their own thing, has their own niche. He doesn't seem like he's educated. Like, I'm talking college education. It looks like he's one of those I'm talented people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an artist. I don't need education, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. But that's what he seems like to me. He seems like one of those down-home, hillbilly, I want to party with you, shit gets wild type of guys.
And we're not saying that to be
rude or
rude
anything.
Or disrespectful.
I have hillbillies. We're half hillbilly, you know?
You know, we know people like Jimmy.
Yeah.
You know, like you said earlier, you have family like Jimmy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we have a big bonfire on the 4th of July every year and or during my aunt's birthday. Mm-hmm. And everybody camps out, ride four-wheelers. It just looks like, you know, like tons of family just come together and have a good time. And that's kind of the feel I get from Jimmy, that he's honest. He's in your face with it. I've been accused of that.
He's brutally honest.
You know, he said himself he's an asshole. But he's an asshole basically to those who deserve it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I connect with that in a way because I'm a dick. And I've been accused of being nasty on occasion just because I'm being honest. But here's the thing with people like Jimmy, that people don't want honesty. They want sugar-coated, as he put, a turd that's sugar-coated.
Yeah.
His words, you know, sugar-coating a turd. People want that because reality is scary. It's messy. It's bad to certain people. And for somebody to come up to you and call you on shit, you have to take a hard look at yourself. Yeah. And that's hard, I think. So people are taken aback and offended by people like Jimmy. You know, and people judge people like that every single day. Oh, he's acting like this, he must be on drugs. Oh, he's acting like that, he must be lying. He's cussing, so he's lying. You know, and he seems like he's been through a lot in his life. I mean, it says he spent 10 years in jail.
Prison, yeah.
I meant prison. And you have to be a survivor to survive prison like that.
Yeah.
You have to be somebody who adapts well to those around you.
So we mentioned earlier from Rebecca's account of things that they knew each other for about a year and they were married for a few months and whatnot. Now from Jimmy's accounting of things, this all started because he wanted to dig up the burn pile and put in a koi fish pond.
Right.
And that was something that he really wanted to do. He seems like one of those people that like to
do things around the house. Always busy.
Yeah, like we have a guy that lives with us, Brian. He's like that. He's always doing stuff around the house.
Right.
He's
always
planting
working,
and gardening and mowing, and Jimmy seems like that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he found it odd that for whatever reason Rebecca was fighting him on this koi fish pond. She would always have some excuse, or she would
fight him
on it, and
make an argument out of it.
And he just couldn't understand why. And I mean, it's a pond. I mean, if you have a specific reason why you don't want a pond, that's one thing. But if you can't give me an answer, then
if somebody
I'm going to get suspicious.
If somebody, if Brian said, "Hey, I'm going to dig up this area and I'm going to put a koi fish pond in there. Do you care?" I'd be like, "Hell no, that'd be awesome.
Right.
It would make our property look nice.
Right.
You know, instead of a big ass ugly burn pile."
Right. So according to him, he had been trying to get her to let him build this koi fish pond for at least 5 months.
5 months, yeah.
And somewhere within that time, he found a bone. Now, he doesn't specify what kind of bone, what it looks like, the size of it. It's hard to imagine finding a bone of a substantial size in a burn pile and it not have been noticed before.
Right.
Since he had been there often.
Right.
But also, on the flip side, if it was a smaller sized bone, how do you recognize that as human?
Well, he didn't say it was human. He just said he found a bone.
But why would he get suspicious? If it was a bone, if he knows that they burnt animals on there before, why would you get suspicious?
Right. So that part of his story doesn't make sense to me. But probably because I don't know the whole story. Like you said, I don't know the size of the bone. I don't know the circumstance in which he found it. I don't know a lot of it. Like I said, Jimmy's given this account through his own words, and sometimes those were erratic and irrational wording, because you gotta remember, this guy was scared. He's on the run. Or he feels like he's on the run.
Yeah.
Or running from somebody. So.
Then he says that this bone disappears. He can't find it. It's not where he left it. And he automatically thinks that Rebecca stole the bone, and in order to hide it so that it wouldn't be found, she threw it into the pig pen, their neighbor's pig pen.
Next to their property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For all of you who do not know, a pig is the only animal that can chew through human bone.
So, a pig is the only one that can chew through bone and doesn't pass any traces into their feces. Now, the only thing that it doesn't digest is teeth. But if you're going to dispose of a body and do it in that manner, I think you know that already.
Yeah, cut the head off.
Right. So from what he said, they were having issues in their marriage, probably because he'd find, if that was the reason, finding this bone, wanting to dig up this koi pond, different stuff like that. He thought that it would bring them closer if they could share secrets of their past to each other and bond over it.
Yeah.
But you can't force people to do that. That's the problem. If you're forcing somebody to share stuff with you, then it's not given legitly.
I think he wanted to show her, whatever it is, I'll still love you. I'll still care about you. I'll still be here by your side.
Right, because she was acting very guarded, very, almost secretive in a manner. And when people get that vibe from somebody they're with, they don't know what the fuck they're hiding.
Yeah.
You don't act like that unless you're hiding something.
Yeah.
So she tells him that she's got bodies buried there and that one of them is Samantha Burns. She tells him some other stories as well. But we'll get into that in a minute. So he gets freaked out by everything she told him. And he's like, okay, you got to go to the cops. We have to go to the cops. You have to tell these people that. You have to bring this girl home.
Yeah.
If you know who these people are, they're missing. Their families are going through hell. And he took it personally because he has his own daughter named Samantha, who's the same age as Samantha Burns. So he kind of personalized that and took it personal. And he thought, well, if that was my child, I'd want somebody to do that for me. You could be the baddest ass motherfucker around, but when it comes to kids and you and your own kids, you're brought to your knees.
Yeah.
Really. And it seemed like that with him, is that it freaked him the fuck out. Okay, so let's go back for a moment and before we move on with Jimmy and his, some of the stuff that he's talked about, I want to say what is different between Rebecca's story and Jimmy's story from her protection order statement.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, the first thing she said, that they dated a year ago and had been married for 2 months. Jimmy said that they had only known each other for 5 or 6 months and they had been married 2. Now, there's other accounts out there that these people knew each other a shorter period of time, but I don't care what other people say. I care what both of them are saying.
Mm-hmm.
Also, she said that he insisted that we go to the police so that she could tell, she could tell her story. But the fact is he tried to get her to go, but he was willing to cover for her. They sat in the parking lot and practiced her alibi, for a long time, for over a half hour, I think he said. And so if he's willing to help her, then what happened? That's right. And he said that they had practiced. That come from his mouth, that they had practiced this alibi for her. Well, you don't have to practice if it's the truth. So I'm sure he just married her. He loves her. If that was you, I would be digging that body up and fucking getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Koi pond. Come on. It's right or die when you marry somebody, and it doesn't matter what they do. You stand beside them. Maybe not do things with them, but you stand beside them and defend their past. I wouldn't let you go to jail and be taken away from me.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck who you killed. It could have been a fucking baby or anything else. I would have been like, okay, well, where's this little fucker buried at? Let's get this shit off our property.
Go for the baby.
I'm just saying that, it could be something that really torques me. I mean, it could be one of my kids' names. It could be anybody. You could say, I have Jesus buried in the backyard, and I'd be like, okay, well, let's make sure he didn't get up and go somewhere, like he had done before, and let's figure out, where we're going to stick this body, or what we're going to do with these bones. So, I'd right then be an accomplice. Mm-hmm. So, I at that point, I'm involved, and I don't want to be dragged down.
Yeah.
He said that he wasn't comfortable leaving her in the house with guns. Well, I didn't know that she shot anybody. From a few stories he said, she had cut their throat. I would be afraid to stay there with any kind of weapon. She'd probably kill him with a pen. I wouldn't...
John Wick.
John Wick, right. I wouldn't... If I knew somebody killed somebody, I wouldn't want to lay beside them, maybe, but I wouldn't leave that to chance either. I wouldn't lay down and get drunk and go to sleep. So, again, discrepancies in his story. If you're scared of her, you wouldn't just be scared of her with a gun.
Right.
I would be scared of her, period. Especially if I think she fed some bones to a hog on property next door. I'd be thinking she'd be cutting my legs off and sending them over next door. Then, she said she went in to get 2 bottles of water for them. Now, I can probably comfortably say that what Jimmy said, she went to get more beer, is the truth. Because these people don't seem like they just drink 4 or 5 beers and then switch to water. Maybe moonshine or something deeper. Or not deeper, but stronger. But not...
Water.
Okay, Ma, we had a little bit of, too much now. Let's just back off and let's drink our water so we don't hang over in the morning.
Yeah, let's get that club soda out.
Right. Woo, party! So I don't think that's... So then she said that he fired a handgun twice in another direction. Okay, let's hear what he has to say about the gun incident.
She said I shot a handgun in the air twice and it intimidated her. All right, let me explain that. We were sitting on the porch drinking beer. She walked in the house. She says, you want a couple more? She says, you want another beer? I said, yeah. So she come out the door with 2 more beers. I pulled the Derringer out of my pocket. Boom, boom. Shot it down in the goddamn ground right there in front of the porch. Boom, boom. Because we sitting on the porch watching the fucking fireworks. She's like, oh, damn, you scared the shit out of me. Grabs her fucking chest and sits down. She says, you could have warned me. And then I said, well, grab me a couple more bullets. She went there. She got a couple more bullets. I took them and reloaded the gun, stuck it over there, and I kept it beside of me. I'm not going to lie. I kept it beside of me. Ever since she told me that fucking story, I kept it beside of me because I didn't trust her. There wasn't no fucking way I was about to trust that woman, especially on 4th of July. She had a gun. I had a gun. Both guns was hers. I bought her the Derringer, but I took it back for my own safety. I bought that gun for her. Paid $250 for it.
He said he fired it into the ground. The way she stated it was that he fired it off.
Yeah. The way she stated it, her accounting of things made it seem like he waited for her to come out of this house, shot the gun in a different direction in order to intimidate or frighten her.
Right.
Now, his accounting of things is what I'm more likely to believe.
Yes.
And it's the 4th of July, and he probably pulled it out and shot it off a couple times.
Right.
And he says he shot it off
in the dirt.
In the dirt. And I can believe that.
Well, any moron knows if you shoot it straight up, it's going to come down.
Yeah.
Sure. But that's what people do. That's what happens at these parties. They have guns. They're hunters. You know, they shoot it off. Everybody's having a great time. Woohoo! You know, like that kind of thing. New Year's Eve, same thing. But she made it sound like he was threatening her with it or intimidating her with it.
Mm-hmm. I think it was just blown out of proportion.
Yeah, I think she said that to make him look violent.
Yeah.
Because he's got a gun. He's shooting it off.
Yeah.
It could have been at me. Oh, you know. Yeah, definitely. So he says that he has 37 malicious wounding charges against him. She said that, but he said he didn't say that that was a discrepancy. He said that 5 of them came from one night. Now let's hear what he has to say about breaking this woman's jaw.
Now I did break Diane Harless's jaw. You know, I walked in, found about 5 dicks up in her, and I fucking went off. I'm sorry. You know, she's supposed to be a loyal fucking soldier, and goddamn, you know, with me. I'm in her tattooing a motherfucker, and everybody starts disappearing. I'm like, what the fuck? I had to go outside and take a piss. We was all drinking. I'm like, where'd everybody go? I'll go into this fucking room, and there's a fucking choo-choo train going. No, fuck. I went the immortal fucking ape shit off on everybody. And I whooped her ass, too. I won't lie. I whooped her ass, too. I called the law on myself that night. I said, you need to come down here and get these son of a bitches, or I'm going to fucking bring them to you. I already had them tied up with a fucking extension cord, beat unconscious, and about ready to tie them to the bumper of my truck and drag them to the fucking police station. Well, they put me in jail. I got 5 goddamn malicious woundings that night. I'm not ashamed of it. I'd do it again. Any woman that's with me, if she ain't fucking loyal to me, I don't want her. Period. And I walk in there and find fucking 5 peckers up in her. Yeah, that's the end of that shit. Period. So, yeah, I did break her jaw. I won't deny none of that. But anyway, I'm going to let everybody else. Now, it says I became very erratic. Oh, yeah, I was very erratic. When you hear something like this, you get very fucking erratic. Especially when you're sitting there thinking that you're with an angel. Come find out she's a devil fucking in disguise.
He seems like he's one of those guys that he knows what type of person he is. He knows he fucks up. He knows he has a
But he owns up to it.
He knows he has a temper. He owns it.
Mm-hmm.
He's not, like you said, he's not going to sugarcoat it.
Right.
That's just who he is, you know?
Right.
What we want to go into now is what has happened since he started posting live videos on Facebook.
Right.
Since I think it was the 8th, since the 8th, he posted numerous videos accounting what he was told by Rebecca, and then because he was fearful of his life, he fled.
Right. He was up by the Canadian border, and then he was on his way to Florida, and then now he's in Vermont or wherever. He might not even be there anymore.
Yeah.
As of right now, I mean, as of last night he was.
Yeah.
He went to Vermont, he said, because Vermont has a stand your ground law. And he wants to be able to defend himself if somebody tries to get him.
Yeah.
He's scared of that. Legitly.
So he is fearful. I mean, if you watch these videos, he is honestly paranoid and afraid. Not paranoid in a way where you look at someone like they're in the middle of a mental break or they're on drugs or whatever. He has thoroughly thought this through.
Oh, yeah. Every angle.
He has come to the conclusion that his wife was somehow involved with several bodies being buried on her property.
Right.
Possibly involved with participating in the murdering and or burning of these bodies, and that these people are still around and are protecting her, and in protecting her they now view him as a threat.
Right. And if that is the case, then they will get rid of him.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, legitly why he's making a fuss. because he doesn't want to be hunted down and killed for what he knows.
Mm-hmm.
And he's putting that stuff out there, so if anything happens to him, bang, right?
Yeah.
He's sending video recordings. He's sending vocal recordings to people all over the place, because he says, if anything happens to me, you get these to people. You know?
Yeah.
So, Facebook shut him down when he started going at first, which was probably because Rebecca's complaints. I don't think that it had anything to do with a conspiracy theory of any kind, or they're involved with the FBI, but probably she complained because he was harassing her, and you can't harass people. You can do Facebook Live all you want, but you can't slander somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, if like it or not, I mean, I know people aren't going to like that when I say that, but like it or not, he was slandering and harassing.
Yeah.
Through his videos. He might be in the right, but it doesn't make it right in the eyes of the law.
And I think another thing that contributed to Facebook shutting him down was that after the authorities had conducted their search of the property and they found nothing, and they reported on the fact that they had found nothing, a lot of people who had been supportive of Jimmy suddenly turned on him, and they felt betrayed. They automatically thought, oh, now this guy's lying, he's in it for the money, he wants this or he wants that.
But
and
let
that
me
in
stop
itself,
right there, because and let me break in here and say that Jimmy has never asked for any money from anybody.
No. But here's the thing, is the way that these people feel. When people feel betrayed and they feel like someone's used them or someone got something over on them, they immediately hit that button.
Yeah. Because really, that's the only retaliation they have.
Yep.
If you're sitting behind a computer screen, you feel like you've been manipulated, your feelings have been played with, the only way to get them back is to get them blocked, get them banned, get whatever. Mm-hmm. You know? And I think that you're right. That's what happened. You know, because people have been flip-flopping back and forth. Oh, wait, I believe him. No, I don't believe him. Oh, wait, I do believe him because this came out. And he keeps saying, I had the proof that she told me these things. And they're like, well, show us. And he's like, well, I'm not going to show anybody right now. You know, like, so they automatically believe he doesn't have it. But they should know if they know anything about Jimmy at this point, is that when he says he's got something or he has something that will incriminate somebody, he's got it.
Yeah. So let's talk about these videos.
Okay.
The first few videos he put up were specifically, this is who I am, this is what my wife told me, this is what's going on, and I want justice.
Right.
So he recorded or broadcasted, because he went live several times. He broadcasted those videos because he was trying to use them as a catalyst to force the hand of the police department.
Right.
Because something like this could have taken months to go through the correct channels. They probably would have investigated him, her, the claims, everything before they even set foot on the property.
Yeah.
But because this has been such a media storm, now you not only have him urging them on, but you have an outcry from the public.
Right.
And at that point, when people want results, you have no choice but to do something about it.
Right. Or put up with it. Put up with the harassment you're getting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His next stream of videos was just corroborating some stories. He mentioned that, or he showed people a tour of the area where the burn pile is located.
Oh, a couple of them, actually.
Yeah. And he even makes mention that he found several burner phones behind the wall.
Right. He found... There's a place in their home where a water heater used to sit. And they were behind a wall, behind where the water heater would have been. And how he found them, he didn't say. Not yet, anyway. But
he didn't even
he has
say what was on them.
6 of them. He didn't say what was on them. He has not said anything about them because I think he feels like that's his get out of jail free card of some sort.
Yeah.
Or as long as he's got them, they want them, and he's making himself needed. You know, like you see it in the movies all the time. As long as I have something they want, they're not going to kill me.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, for people who don't know what a burner phone is, a burner phone is a phone that you purchase at, say, a gas station or a drugstore. It's the little flip phones that are in these packets that you can just purchase minutes for.
Or they don't have to be flip phones either.
Yeah,
you know?
well, that's what I look at them as for whatever reason.
Right. People feel like they can't be traced, but that's not true.
No, it's not true. It's harder to.
Yes.
Because you can't trace the phone itself. You have to go through
the phone company.
No,
like
you
Verizon.
have to go through where they bought this phone at.
Well, not just where they bought the phone, but we were watching that one show and it was telling how they do it.
Yeah.
And they go through your phone records, and you have all these phone numbers, right, that are in your log, and then suddenly a new number calls you. Oh, I wonder who that belongs to. You know? Mm-hmm. And then they trace that phone number itself back to you. And once they get that trace on you, they activate it. They activate the trace.
Yeah.
And they can find you anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're going to use a landline if you don't want to be screwed with. And where are you going to find a landline anymore?
Right.
Honestly, I don't remember the last time we had a landline. I remember the last... No,
we have
wait.
a landline now.
No, we don't. It's through the computer.
Mm.
So it's not a landline.
Right.
Right, you know. But it's DSL phones now, and it's cable phones and all this junk.
Traceable stuff. People that keep, close eye. Yeah. I mean, Big Brother's watching. Yeah. So people assume that burner phones are untraceable. That's false. But back to what we're talking about. That's what burner phones are. It's basically disposable types of phones that minutes can be purchased and whatnot.
Right.
So he found 6 phones behind a wall where the water heater used to be. Then the next few videos were what interests me. He actually calls Rebecca, and he videotapes himself speaking to Rebecca on speakerphone.
Yes. I was kind of on the fence until I heard those.
Yeah.
So, and then I kind of gathered what was going on. Like, well, I'll tell my theory after we're done, so okay. I don't want to interject that.
So, in this conversation, Rebecca basically corroborates a lot of the things that he had said. She agrees with him about some of the accusations that he had made about her.
She agrees with him.
I mean, even when it came to whether or not she actually told him about these bodies.
Yeah.
He actually says, well, you told me some pretty fucked up shit.
Right.
And she goes, I know I did.
Yeah.
So she's...
But you don't know what that fucked up shit is that he's saying.
Right.
Like, I could tell you that I masturbated on 4 clowns. Just saying. Reaching for something. And you could say... You could go tell people I told you that I murdered somebody, and then you can on the phone say, you told me some fucked up shit, and they think that that's what you're talking about, and I'm really talking about the masturbation with the clowns. Okay? Like, that is very easily...
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just it. Because that is some pretty fucked up shit. Either way you look at it. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah. I just want to make that point that does not collaborate his story unless she says, I know I told you that I killed this person. I killed that person.
It wasn't an admission of guilt. It wasn't a confession. It was just...
It's given some proof to what he's saying.
Yeah. I'm always on the fence when it comes to these two.
I am too. I really am.
It's almost like you don't know who to believe. She's crazy. He's crazy. You don't know if he's making it up, if she's making it up, or if they're making it up together.
Right. It's like sometimes I feel like I'm being duped, but then there's other times where I think, okay, that bitch killed somebody.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll give my theory later. So I really liked that conversation with her because it did shed a lot of light on things. And she said, well, when he said, well, you told them that I was acting like this and I was acting like that. And she's like, I had to tell them something. Why? Why did you have to tell them anything? Why did you have to get a restraining order on him? That's bullshit. I'd be like, why did you tell him anything, bitch? The fuck are you doing?
So, the next several videos talks about different subjects.
Yeah.
A lot of the tone of the videos is him very upset, very fed up, very angry at Rebecca. He says a lot of things about her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she is a white supremacist.
Says the person who has an AB tattoo on his stomach.
Right.
But I have not seen that. I have not seen that tattoo. Although he has done a lot of videos without a shirt on. It's never, like, down. So, that's just hearsay. He's never said that he does have that tattoo.
Right.
But a bunch of the people that know him say it. And that the AB on him is Aryan Brothership. Which you got to stop and think. Brotherhood. I'm sorry. Aryan Brotherhood. But you got to stop and think this man was in prison for 10 years. How do you survive when you don't make an affiliation?
Mm-hmm.
Your ass is dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to affiliate with some group. It's just like gang wars.
Whether he did affiliate with them at some point or not. What's in his past is his. But we're going to talk about what he said about her. He said that she recruited for the KKK, raised her family on KKK money, and she was paid well, and her kids have KKK tattoos. He'd also posted about their sex life, and then he goes on, he tells a story about this body he believes she murdered. So why don't you talk about that?
Why don't we just hear that in his own words? So here's a sound clip from him telling that story. I find it odd, almost, to think of her as a ringleader. Because I don't think she's strong enough for that. But I don't know her either.
Yeah.
She's a master manipulator. And that's been said by a lot of people in the community. That she is a master manipulator. People that know her personally, went to school with her, etc. But it's hard for me to believe that this woman is telling these grown men that have killed before, that have killed these people before, that don't want to cut a head off a body, telling them, do that or you're going to be next. But then again, if she has clout, or if she has sway with the KKK, they probably don't want to fuck with her either.
Right.
So you don't know. We don't know. It's like so many unanswered questions. Jimmy thinks everybody is protecting Rebecca. Even people on death row. He thinks that they went to death row to save her.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks that the cops are protecting her. He thinks that, the FBI is protecting her because there's a cover-up with the Amanda Burns story and they don't want it to come out that they knew where she was at. Yeah, all this stuff, But Jimmy thinks that. Because after you've been told something like that, he could probably go off on his head. He thinks that he believes that when she says they had Klan rallies out there. Well, a lot of people say that Jimmy was part of that. The Klan rallies that were held out there. But he says he didn't know her before that.
Mm-hmm.
He knew about her past. He knew about her background. Why did he marry her? So before we move forward, a couple of things that Jimmy said. One of them included that his wife, Rebecca, had something to do with the death of Samantha Burns. This is his account of what Rebecca Hysell told him. Where would he get that info if she didn't say it?
Yeah.
You know, well, you just make that shit up out of your ass? No, you don't. And then she told Jimmy that the murder weapon that was used to kill Millard Aldridge, which was the news reporter mentioned in one of Jimmy's videos, is on Rebecca's property. Now Millard Aldridge was the guy that Mitchell Vickers killed, and that's why he went to prison. He actually died in prison. Vickers died in prison of hepatitis C. He had an enlarged liver, an enlarged spleen, just suffering immensely. So that might make people feel good to know that. People ask, well, how can that be when it was found with his body and the hammer was used in court as evidence? Plus, it was a positive DNA match. It had his blood on it. And the answer is that they believe that there was 2 murder weapons. That the autopsy said he was hit with a claw hammer as well, and that was never found. So that wasn't found with the body. The other hammer was. So that could be, I'm not saying that's true or not, I'm just saying that's
a possibility.
Right, it's a possibility. Jimmy said that Rebecca is a thief, that she used him because he's artistically talented to forge her client's signatures, her patient's signatures, and scam Humana, that's where she works, out of thousands of dollars for services rendered but never done. So she was saying home health care, like, I'm going to go take care of this person has to sign off on the hours I was here. You, because you can draw, because you can do tattoos like a motherfucker, and he is immensely talented. I seen some of his work, some of his cover-ups, and I'm like, that dude is, like, right on, you know? Yeah. And so because he can draw and he can, do this stuff, she's like, hey, lover boy, why don't you, sign me some... So he's admitting, yes, I did wrong, but I did it for her, and she asked me to do it.
Right.
Also implementing...
Plus, forgery and murder
are way 2 different things. But it's a hop, skip, and a jump. That she just is in that mind frame. Something that Jimmy goes over and over, and I hate when he says it, is that he lost his home, he lost his business, he lost his truck in this ordeal. In fact, he sold his truck for gas money, he signed his business over to a person who works with him, and he left the house on his own because he said he was leaving before he got kicked out. So it wasn't lost. You gave it up. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing that he says that. I'm just saying that I want to clarify.
Yeah.
Because people think that it was taken from him by the police or by the FBI.
I think what he means by he lost it is that he went from normal life, as far as he knew it,
right,
to...
He said he's never been happier.
Run.
Right. And he said he's never been happier in his life than when he was with her.
Yeah.
So, of course he's hurting.
He still loves her.
Yeah. And if he didn't, he'd be crazy. You don't shut that shit off.
I think that's what he means by he's lost.
What I think is that he knew a divorce was coming. Something was coming. And he didn't want her having his shit. Or being able to get his shit. So he give it to friends that will give it back to him. His business, his truck, and his kayaks. I honestly think that these people are going to be righteous and give this back to him because he doesn't want to give her anything of his. He doesn't want it to be taken as evidence, or shut down for evidence. He feels like he's worked for all this stuff, and rightfully so. He has worked for it. And he slowly put his life back together, and now she's tearing it apart. Right. So he is angry. And people keep saying, oh, he's just angry and jaded. Well, maybe, because she's tearing his shit apart. She's tearing his life up.
Yeah.
I would be angry too.
Where I want to go from here is questions. The first question we would normally answer is, do we believe Jimmy Hysell's claims? But we've both separately wrote out our own thoughts and ideas and theories on what we believe is true or false, so we're going to get to that later. Next question. If Jimmy's claims turn out to be false, what charges should be brought against him after all this accusations? Because if he is lying, then there's been false claims reported, he's wasted taxpayers' money, manpower, lost revenue, things like that. What do you think should be done?
not to mention those things, but he has torn up people's lives. Look at I'm not saying he's torn up the Burns family's life, but he is talking about Samantha Burns, and her family is now involved in this. Mm-hmm. And here we go again. These people have not rested. Yeah. Honestly, have not rested.
I mean, Rebecca
invited
them to her home, which I felt was odd.
Who?
Rebecca.
Invited who?
The Burns family.
Oh, well, that is odd. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've been looking at all this shit, and I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. She invited them. There was a Facebook post on the Lawrence County Sheriff's Department page.
Right. I remember seeing that. Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. It basically
said that she was extending an invitation for them to come to her house. And that was during the time that they were digging. So I don't know if that means, hey, be here in case something happens, or we're going to find your daughter, so you
might want to be in the area.
You know, I don't know. I thought the whole thing was
I think that she wanted to make it look like, she wasn't guilty. You're more than welcome to come here and look around yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so we're off the subject,
right,
but what do you think about what should be done?
I think that he should be punished to the nines if this is the case. I think that he should be charged with harassment of the Burns family, harassment of this poor woman, Rebecca, if she is not guilty. Mm-hmm. I think that he should be punished for stirring the shit. As he says, rusted spoon, stirring shit. Yeah. Give her rusted. Yeah, okay. Anyway, I think that he should do time in prison. I think that he should be charged with fraud for taking people's money. He never asked for it, but you still took it. People Western Union you money.
Yeah.
I think that he should be charged with. I think he should get a bill from this Riggs Construction Company for their time, because they donated their time and their equipment to come out there and dig that hole. Mm-hmm. I think that he should get a bill for the specialists, the FBI specialists that they brought in.
Two of them.
They pay those guys for that.
Right.
You don't get them guys for free.
Because one of them was a specialist in buried remains, and then they had to bring in a specialist for burnt buried remains.
Right, and so I think he should get a bill. All these cops that have worked at there, the deputies that have worked there, the investigators, the agents, he should get a bill for their. I think that he should get slapped with a false claim report and impeding in an investigation that's open, because they're still investigating. Samantha Burns is not a cold case.
Yeah.
I think that he should be dragged through the mud for screwing with the Burns family, or anyone else for raising their hopes that their kid might be buried there, that are missing in that area or anywhere in the world, that their kid could be somebody buried on that property. Mm-hmm. I think that that's the worst torture you could do to a family that has a missing child or a missing person. It's horrible. So that's my claim. Now, if she's found guilty, I think they should put her on death row and execute her, like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, no waiting, no appeals, no nothing. She should just go and get fucked. She should just go and get dead.
I mean, if she's guilty of knowing about it, but not
coming forward,
doing any of it, she should still be punished for the act itself.
Yes, just like
we have laws about that now.
Especially in Ohio.
Yeah, that even if you didn't do the crime, if you were aiding the people that were doing the crime, even if you were the driver, the getaway driver.
Yeah. We see that in the news recently, that people are being convicted of murder, even though they didn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
It wasn't even there. They were just sitting outside.
Yep. So I think she should be punished to the full extent of the law. I mean, Brandon and Chad Folks, Brandon Basham and Chad Folks, who are the two people who were charged with Samantha Burns' murder, are on death row.
Right, they are both on death row.
She should be
sitting next to him.
Yep.
They should have a cell for all three of them. But they probably enjoy that.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, the Folks boy, or Chadrick?
Chad, yeah.
Yeah, he is in contact with somebody that runs a website.
Like a blog or something.
Yeah, and he actually didn't know about any of this, and he was informing him of it, and he said, that girl was Beth's friend. Like, Jimmy he said that Jimmy and
Becky
were friends with Beth. And some of you out there will know who Beth is. Some of you might not, but it's not anything to worry about at this point, because it's just a shitstorm of people, interweb, this outrageous web. I feel like doing a perp board.
If we went through every name that has come up,
we'd be here for 5-6 hours.
I mean, I don't even understand how all of these people jigsawing.
Well, like I said, I feel like doing a perp board. Like doing it right and doing a perp board and really getting to the bottom of how these people are connected. But I don't have that kind of time, especially when we do some investigating of our own. So, what do you think about Jimmy? What should he get? You said what you think Rebecca should get.
I think there is a special place in hell for people like that who make false claims.
Especially the accusation that he... Yes.
For fame, for profit, and ruining people's lives. Because if he is lying, he's ruining Rebecca's life.
Right.
He's dragging other people through the mud. He is dragging the Burns family through hell.
Yeah.
And not to mention all these people who believe in him and are supporting him, not just financially, but emotionally.
Yeah. People are emotionally invested. We have joined, Rain and I have joined groups on Facebook that support Jimmy or don't support Jimmy. And these people are emotionally invested every single day. They're trying to help this man. They are trying to put 2 and 2 together. They're trying to connect something, learn something from somewhere that might help. And they're desperate.
Yeah.
Because they want to help this Burns family. They really do. Or anyone else that might be buried in a hole there. And I would feel so stupid if I was invested at that level. And I got slapped in the face.
Right.
Basically. But you're right. There is a special place in hell for people like that. And we're not saying that Jimmy is doing that. Yeah. We are saying that if he was doing that, what should happen to him?
Okay, so the next question I have is, do you believe at this point the Sheriff's Department and the FBI have done a good enough investigation of the property? Investigation and search of the property?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't, honestly, because I saw up in these groups, I've seen, there's some people that have posted crime scene pictures, or not crime scene pictures, but pictures of scenes where they're digging for buried people. People that have been buried or might be on this property, and they're digging all over the place. Now, if you know there's been 7 burn pits there, if you know that you found nothing here and there, what's one more day? You can't look at that big of an area. Honestly, you cannot look at that big of an area. And they have a big property layout out there. Mm-hmm. In 48 hours. And really, if you want to think about it, it wasn't even 48 hours.
Nope.
It was just, we're going to dig 8 feet here and 8 feet over there. And there was this little boy missing not too long ago, and they thought he was on this property, and they dug down 16, 20 feet deep. And they had that place tore up. I mean, they had tents put up, cars out there, people searching the area, people digging in the area, people doing... It wasn't just I'm going to dig an 8-foot hole, but a 20 by 20 8-foot hole, and, well, if we don't find anything, whatever.
Yeah.
And not search the pig pen next door. That's also something that brings to my attention the fact that people are putting up a do not trespass. People think, these people have things to hide. No! They have looky-loos all over their property getting pictures of Rebecca's property. Right. They have looky-loos and newscasters and news anchors and cameramen and every dime a dozen podcast, every dime a dozen blog, everybody that thinks they're a reporter.
Yeah.
Out there looking. Well, I wouldn't want those fuckers on my property either. That does not, and I want to set this straight, that does not keep police off your property.
Nope.
I don't know where people are getting this.
All they have to have is...
Probable
cause. And they do.
Yeah.
Because they're searching for a body in the area.
Right.
In the area, not just in the radius of this hole.
Right. And yes, the warrant that they have says this property right here, and this is the survey of the land that we are going to search on. Which is another reason they do a survey. This is the survey of the land that we are searching on. But guess what? If we think for a minute that this woman fed a bone to your pigs, we're coming for you next. Because we can get a search warrant like that.
Right. Yep.
So I don't believe they did a thorough search there. I think that they did a fast job to prove Jimmy, like, here's your proof, dumbass.
I think they did enough of a search to quiet the shitstorm that had been kicked up. Because if you think about it, like we discussed earlier, when a claim like this is brought to their attention, they're probably going to do a bunch of research. They're going to interview. They're going to connect all these dots. And then if they find just cause to go and search the property, they're going to do that. But that takes months. But when you have something that has been pushed to the forefront of the media like this,
you have to deal with it.
And you have a public outcry for people to dig, and that's their motto. Their
dig for info, dig for bodies, dig for shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it forces the hand of people, whether or not they're ready to be forced.
Absolutely.
So I think the police felt forced. They did enough to appease public perception. Like, okay, we dug up this pit where they said it was buried. We found nothing. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
They didn't bring any cadaver dogs that I saw.
Well, listen, and this is the reason why they didn't bring cadaver dogs, is because they believed it's been so long that these dogs are trained to smell rotting flesh, to smell scents from a body. Well, if you don't have any flesh on your bones,
that's true.
But they are also trained to smell bone, rotting bone, or not rotting bone, but burnt bone, anything. But because it's been years since these bodies have been burnt, and I will put that in quotes, on this property, they didn't want to waste time with the dogs. But here's a case, I've seen it about a year ago, where a dog found a burnt body that had been buried some 12 feet deep. Just recently, like a year ago. So why they didn't bring the dogs in, I don't know, but they didn't have to. That's their choice.
Right.
And for a minute, I don't believe that they ever believed that Samantha Burns was buried there.
No.
I don't think for a second. And that's why they dismissed it. Boom, just like that. Now, if they thought that Samantha Burns was really there, they'd be out there digging that whole yard up.
Right.
They'd have new landscaping out there.
Because honestly, after they made the statement, I think they made the statement 10 days ago, on the 12th. Mm-hmm. They have not really done any sort of public announcement about any other efforts that were made.
Right.
It was just, this is what we did, we didn't find anything, sorry.
Yeah.
And people might find that distasteful in some way because they think they should have done more. Some people might think that they did their jobs. I think they did their jobs according to the evidence that they have.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And people might not like that opinion, but just because someone says something's there doesn't always make
it true.
Right.
Yes.
And as much as I want to believe, Jimmy, if it was my job to...
You can't break the law for him.
Right.
Yeah. You can't go above and beyond for some guy that claims his wife is a serial killer. Mm-hmm. It's just, it doesn't work. So the next question is, do you believe his latest claims of a conspiracy involving his wife, other people, and the authorities?
I would like to, because that would be an awesome story.
I'm all for conspiracy theories.
I know.
I'm in it to win it. Like missing people cases that have conspiracy around them. I am all for it. I'm all for it.
Do I believe that it's true? I don't know.
I don't know either. Like I said, I've been on the fence about this case since the beginning. I don't know, because there's so much stuff. It's mind-boggling. Mm-hmm. So, being that's our answer, we'll move to the next. Why, if he's so scared of her, why is he still in contact with her?
I think
through phone, Facebook, voicemails, text.
I think at this point it's a matter of clearing his name, because he's put himself out there. Now people are calling him crazy, Now he wants to make sure people know that
he's not lying, right?
That he's not lying, that this really is happening, whether he's fearful of his life or not.
Yeah.
It's about, well, one, it's about finding these bodies, and two, it's about clearing his name.
Yeah. For me, I'll answer the same question. I think that he's trying to set her up, get information from her, so that he can prove himself, like you said.
Yeah.
He can prove he's right, that he's been right all along, that somebody's buried there, even if it's not Samantha Burns. Somebody is.
Right.
You know,
I mean, we've already seen him videotape a conversation that he had with her. So he's obviously in the right mind to know that he needs to have some sort of physical evidence of these things, because all of this is based off of a conversation that they had that no one has a recording of.
Right.
So now, every other time that they talk, he's going to record it.
Right. And she should not be dumb enough to not know that. I mean, I think she is really in love with him. Or she's trying to frame him, too.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. So, the next question is, how is Rebecca friends with people like Brandon Basham and Mitchell Vickers and able to think people will believe her? Anything she says. She's guilty by association to some people. You know, she knows these people, so obviously she knows something about it. I'm not saying that's what I believe. I'm just saying that that's why people are getting this.
That's the perception.
She's getting the hate from people because of that. Like, you know what Brandon Basham did. You know what Mitchell Vickers did. She said she's friends with them.
Right.
And they used to come to her place all the time. Okay, so why not think if they need a place to bury a body and she has all this property, why wouldn't they come there? Mm-hmm. You know, I know two people. If I had to bury a body, where I would go to bury it. I know people with tons of land.
Right. Well, if you follow the timeline of things that happened when Brandon Basham escaped from prison with Chad Fultz, it was during that time period when they were out. That was the time period that they knew Rebecca.
Right.
They met during this whole crime spree thing.
Okay.
They're from different areas, so it's hard to believe that they would be able to meet somewhere in between.
Right.
So if you put that together, then you might be able to say she knew about their crime spree, because they weren't very quiet about it.
No. I mean, they were calling up all kinds of people. Hey, can we come over and hang out for a couple days? Hey, do you got drugs? Do you got this? You know.
But, you know, that's a stretch, I think. Because, who was it? I think it was Ann Rule who used to work with a serial killer. Who was it?
It was Ann Rule. Yeah, that's why she started.
Was it Bundy?
I think, yeah, it was Bundy.
Okay, so, if you're going on this assumption that Rebecca knew Brandon Basham, Mitchell Vickers, Chad Fultz, whoever, and that by knowing them she's guilty, then under that assumption, Ann Rule would be guilty of everything that Ted Bundy did.
Right.
Which is false.
Right. Well, I'm not saying she's guilty, but I'm saying that how do you not get the stigma of being guilty by association when you know people that are this evil? And then you're trying to tell us that you're a nice Christian woman who gets water and gives homeless dogs a fucking place to live? You know, you don't do that.
I don't know the truth about it, but I'm not going to judge her.
No, I'm not judging her either.
Because lots of people know monsters.
Oh, yeah. They know them and don't know they know them, or they know them and they know they're like that, but they've changed. Or what are they hoping to... You know, it doesn't... You can know somebody who's a serial killer and have done drugs with them because you're that shady, but you're not shady enough to kill somebody. You know?
Right.
That is a big leap, doing crack with somebody and helping them bury a body. I would have to be really invested in that other person to want to go down for something like that. Right. Or be threatened myself.
Right.
I'm not saying she's guilty. Again, I'm just saying that how do you not look guilty?
Yeah.
When you're, to people. So, people who don't have anything to hide normally don't use burner phones. So, what the hell is on these burner phones?
No one seems to know what's exactly on the burner phones. I don't think Jimmy himself knows what's on the burner phones. Last I checked, he had sent them somewhere. I don't know where.
People are speculating that that he sent them to the Burns family, and I hope he did not.
I hope he didn't either.
I really hope he didn't, because if he did, God,
I hope he sent them to the authorities.
I hope he did. Yeah,
I don't know.
I hope he copied whatever was on them and then sent them somewhere, or sent them to somebody to be held in case something happens to them. Yes.
Now that we're talking about the phones, how did Jimmy know where to find the phones? Because that's pretty.
Well, that's in my theory, so I want to.
That's a pretty obscure place. Like, it's behind the wall of where a water heater used to be. Like, you really have to be looking for something.
Yeah.
So we're gonna skip that since it's in
your theory. It's in my theory. So he initially tried to cover for her because he said that they tried to practice an alibi in the parking lot. So what scared him enough to make him want to run? Was it because he was too loud? And okay, that's in my theory too. So I'm just going to stop there, but I want to know from your end. You know, what do you think made him run if he was initially going to help her?
I think what changed was when she made that protection order. He felt betrayed.
Or when she went behind his back to talk to the FBI agent.
Yeah, that's it. Because at that point, they were going to do it together. From his own accounts, they had an alibi worked out. And when she had spoken to the FBI agent, he didn't know about what. He didn't know what she said. Possibly her story changed. Probably her story showed him in not so great of a light.
And she was probably trying to make him look nuts.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Jimmy's had some problems lately. He's mental. You know, and once you start having those type of people in that type of power doubt somebody, they're constantly, that's going to be, even if they don't believe it, it's going to be in the back of their head. Like, this dude's crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, not just that, but you think, okay, this person that I love told me all of this stuff. I love her enough to try and help her.
I would.
But now she's going to throw me under the bus.
Right. Now it's on like Donkey Kong.
Capable of?
Right. Yeah. You know, and you think that just because you're in love with her and she's in love with you, that you're safe? No, dude. You're not. And I would run too.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I'd be living like a homeless person out in San Francisco or California. So I also want to say something. There's been, Jimmy said that he wants people to dig. Jimmy said we should look into who, it surrounds this conspiracy theory. Who's giving these guys on death row their money? Who's visiting them? Who is talking to them? Who are they emailing? Who are they in contact with inside the prison? Because he thinks that might connect something somewhere. And somebody asked, how do we get that information? The only way to get that information is by a subpoena. And you have to have a lawyer, a judge, a FBI agent, or a cop of some sort. Somebody with a badge, some investigator with a license, somebody that has a connection with the law to do that. Now, if they are covering that up, they're never going to do that. But I think that it is worth a look. Honestly. Who is giving these people money? Why are they giving them money?
Now,
who are these people that are giving them money connected to?
Now, I know in normal prisons, prisoners have like an account that they can put money in.
It's called JPay.
JPay. And they can use that money to buy commissary and stuff like that. Well, obviously things are going to be different on death row because I don't know if they're allowed to buy commissary.
Well, they are, but here's the thing. They are allowed to buy commissary, and there used to be a law that you had to be on their visitors list or their phone list to be able to send them anything, to be able to send them money to buy stuff. Some states now have it to where you don't have to be, you could just be any Smojo and put $200 on somebody on death row's account. Now, I know there's a limit to what you can put on their account, but to get records, you have to actually go through a court system to get them. Because if that was public knowledge, that's not protecting their privacy. Yeah. Because even though they're criminals, they do have a right to their own privacy. And they do have rights, sadly.
Yeah, they do. And someone also questioned the validity of this Chad folks who was contacting this person on the outside because they were doing it via email. And they're like, oh, how do they have access to email on death row?
Well, they do. They have access to the phone. They have access to email. They have access to mail. They have access to commissary, unless they lose that.
Yeah.
Now, another question we have is, why did it take them 11 days to get a search warrant? If they were there taking pictures, they were obviously concerned that this burn pile was going to be removed or screwed with in some way. That would have given probable cause to get a search warrant issued faster, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I also want to know this question. I want to know the answer to this question, and I want to know from a police officer, or I want to know not from a police officer, but I want to know from the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office. Now, the sheriff said something about it being an FBI investigation. But there we go. It takes an FBI agent 3 to 4 hours with probable cause to get a search warrant.
I think there was a lot of jockeying going on.
Should
you have 3 different agencies that, 1, have to figure out whose jurisdiction it is.
Right.
2, have to figure out who's going to do what in this investigation.
Right.
And 3, sharing information seems to be like some kind of roadblock for them.
It does. For whatever reason, in cases when the FBI gets involved, the cops stop trying to help them. For whatever reason, it's like the FBI think they're big shit on campus, and here's these little twats that are running around with a badge on their shirts, and they don't know really what they're doing because they're not FBI, and it's just a pissing contest. And really, it should be about helping find people who are missing if they're really buried there.
Yeah.
You gotta take something like that kind of complaint, and you really, I mean, you can't go around digging up everybody's yard, but they gotta see, okay, how is this what is going on here? Do we have probable cause to dig here? Well, they didn't, because there was no proof, really. Jimmy just went to them with a complaint. Mm-hmm. They had to find the proof. Then they had to file for a restraining, or not a restraining order. They had to file for a search warrant for that property, and then they have to get the permission, to go forward with that. So when Rebecca says, well, I invited them out to look, well, you might have, but they still need a search warrant. You can't say, yeah, come to my property, and then not have a search warrant, and then they start digging up your shit. Mm-hmm. Because that's how you get these, oh, the SWAT team just knocked down my door and they're going to pay for this and they got the wrong house. That's how you get that kind of stuff. So if Samantha Burns is really involved in this case, in some way they want to go through the right channel so they can use the evidence.
Right.
That's, if you just bust down the door, you can't use that evidence in court. Especially if you destroy any of it. I mean, I sometimes I don't understand. So now we're going to talk about our theories. My theory, okay. My theory is, and it might be wrong, and I will
eat my
words if I do, and I will correct myself. But everybody's got a theory, right? And here's mine. So he knew about the bodies for a long time. I think that there are bodies buried there. Where they're buried, I don't know. But I believe that he knew about it for as long as he's known her. I think he knew what kind of woman she was and still married her. I think that he agreed to leave it in the past and start a relationship. He was in love with her. You have to be seriously taken with someone to only know them for a couple months and get married to them.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. And I think he agreed to dig that koi pond and dig up that fire pit to get rid of it. And I think he scared her. I think she's just like, leave it well enough alone. I think she said, hey, listen, stop it. Because you're going to piss off a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell them that I told you, or they can't know I told you.
Right.
But Jimmy being who he is, he probably said, I don't care. Let him come! Let him come! I could just hear him saying it. I'll shoot them, motherfucker! I could just hear him saying it. So he kept arguing with her about this. This kept going on and this kept going on. Arguing and arguing. And he thought that if he built this koi pond and got rid of the dirt in that area, and people saw him digging the koi pond, they wouldn't think twice about him removing the dirt.
Right.
There's this case, I can't even remember where, I don't even know it right off, but it just came to me, that these people dug around for a pool, and they built it themselves, and he transported remains off the property, and nobody thought twice about him building a pool. Okay? So I'm thinking that they were thinking something like that. And nobody would have thought twice. Oh, Jimmy's over there digging around. You know? Like, who cares? Mind your own business, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And they were sitting around drinking around the 4th of July weekend, and shit hit the fan. Right? He told her to tell him more details about the shit that happened. And about the bodies, and about the people, and this and that. And that's when I think the Samantha Burns thing came out. And I don't think it was said, no, Samantha Burns is buried here. I think it was something like, oh, you never know, Samantha Burns might be buried here. You don't know. You know, and I think that it was a big joke to them. You know, to her at least. Mm-hmm. And when he said the name Samantha, it freaked him the fuck out. Because he thought of his daughter, and he thought of what he would feel. There comes the empathy thing. Empathy makes you do a lot of stupid shit. Sympathy makes you do a lot of stupid shit. So, when she mentioned Samantha, it connected that case to him in some way. It made it real. And then he got guilt going on. Then he convinces her to go to the police. Which you could do with a drunk person. But then when it's time to go in, she knows she's going to be killed. If it's really a cover-up or something's going on. Mm-hmm. I think he got in over his head with that. I think that him and his erratic behavior and his irrationality, or his irrational behavior around that subject, just got the best of him. He doesn't seem like the type that would shy away from or hang somebody to the wall about a criminal past, because he's got one himself.
Yeah.
Even if it was killing or hurting anyone, you know? And I think that they got into a fight and she told someone about it. I think that then she had to distance herself, so she went and filed a restraining order on him. In case anything happened to this man, there was a restraining order on him, and he got himself killed. Because I think she knew somebody's going to try to hurt him. So, if he comes up dead, and there's a restraining order on him, it can't be her, because she's not going to break that restraining order. So, then he got scared and ran for the hills. And he knows that she knows a bunch of people that's going to hurt him. That's my theory. I'm not saying, now people, I want you to hear this. I'm not saying it's true. I don't want anybody bashing us because of my theory. I don't want anyone out there calling us out about it, because everybody has a theory and it's okay. Now, if my theory is wrong and he didn't know anything about it until that day, like he says, then I'll be the first to say that. But I'm here just like everyone else, trying to make sense of it. And I think that's what it is. People just trying to reach for, straws to make sense. And so that's what I can see out of this whole thing, is that he has always known. Wanted to help her get out of it, wanted to help her get rid of it, wanted to help her set her life straight, because he was starting to do that. And she just didn't want to have anything to do with it. Because if she is working with the KKK, guess who's going to be knocking on her door?
Right.
Saying, what the fuck, bitch, you telling people shit? Then he goes online and starting a shitstorm. Well, what is she going to do at that point? But discredit him. Mm-hmm. And make him look like a loony. What's your theory?
All right. Again, people, this is just theory.
Theory.
Okay.
Everybody's got one. We'd like to hear yours too. So, yeah.
I've been following this story for about 2 weeks now, and my opinion seems to change almost daily.
I know. We talked about it almost daily.
Yeah. One day I believe him, and the next day I think that this all can't possibly be true. Most of the days I'm glued to my feed, devouring every post, every picture, every video that's out there. And there's some days that I can be so annoyed by everything clogging up my wall that I just want it all to end so I don't have to see the train wreck.
Right.
I really want to believe Jimmy, because if because if he is telling the truth, then the finding of those bodies will mean closure to the families of the missing people.
And even if he did know about it, who cares?
Yeah.
Nobody can blame him for that.
No. I don't care about the spider web of connections that people have been trying to make between this story and countless other stories.
Right.
They want to connect Samantha to this. They want to connect a ton, too many to mention.
Yeah.
They're just trying to find meaning in all of this because that's human nature.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much information flying around from people who have already chosen their sides that it's hard to separate fact from fiction.
Right.
Right now, all we have is hearsay and theory, so this is mine. I think Rebecca got drunk and said some things she probably shouldn't have. I think Jimmy is honestly freaked out about the thought of what could have happened on that property. Do I think Rebecca killed anyone? No. Do I think there may have been bodies somewhere on that property? Yeah. Do I think the bodies or traces of them are still there? No. I think Jimmy's erratic behavior on Facebook was meant to force the Lawrence County Sheriff's Department to do something about his claims. And if there is some sort of conspiracy or if there were murders, then his presence on Facebook keeps him safe. It's like going into a public place with lots of people if you feel like you're being followed.
Right.
There's safety in numbers and power in numbers. I really hope that he's telling the truth so that these people who have been missing for far too long can finally be found and returned to their families to give them the closure they deserve.
Yeah, I agree. Because that Burns family, they need closure. They really do. Because somewhere inside of you, even though her body hasn't been found, you think she might. That little spark of hope.
Yeah.
She might be still alive.
Yeah. So, for those who think that the law didn't do their job, this is a statement that was made by Sheriff Jeff Lawless that was posted on the Lawrence County, Ohio Sheriff's Department Facebook page. So this is his statement. I have been a law enforcement officer for 31 years, and during that time, I've witnessed a lot of people bash law enforcement when it's convenient to do so. The people take every opportunity to badmouth the police or the way we are handling a situation when they have no clue of the facts. They assume that law enforcement is either doing too little or being overly aggressive, and jumping to conclusions and even make up stuff to sensationalize their cause. I've witnessed these same type of people having to eat crow time and time again when it is proven that law enforcement had in fact acted properly the entire time. Concerning the current situation that is currently being discussed, I am reading comments from people who are demanding that I throw out the rule of the law and disregard the Constitution of the state of Ohio and the Constitution of the United States and arrest someone and search a citizen's property without the proper warrants. They demand that I do these things based on a conversation by two people who were sitting around one evening drinking. Would these same people want me to arrest them or kick their door in and search their home based on an accusation by another person? I do not think they would, and regardless, I never would, because I will follow the law and the Constitution. As I said previously, this situation is an FBI investigation. The sheriff's office is assisting, but please do not assume that because things are not happening as fast as you want, that we aren't doing anything. The public's desire to know about a case does not outweigh our need to make sure we take the time to get it right. I know that this post will again give some people the opportunity to unjustly attack the sheriff's office, but out of respect to everyone involved in this situation, any and all negative comments will be deleted. Stay safe, Sheriff Jeff Lawless.
This is where we're going to end this episode. We'd love to know your thoughts about this, so please leave a comment or reach out to us on social media and let us know where you stand. Do you believe that there are bodies really out there? Or do you believe that this is all just some big ploy to gain money or fame? Either way, we'd love to hear your opinion. Also, if you do have any additional information or reliable evidence to add to this case, please contact the agencies involved in this investigation. You can reach the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Thanks for joining us today for this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Please be advised that this episode of True Crime Dungeon was recorded on July 21st, 2017. If you are listening to this podcast after that date, please be advised that there may have been some updates or changes to this story since then. We will keep you updated.